Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Total world victory of Hare Krishna. My name is Sitapati Das, and this is Bhagavad-gita 144 with Sitapati and Dhanadevi.
Hare Krishna.
Bhagavad-gita, the Song of God, Chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna Vishad Yoga, text number 44. Aho bata mahat pāpaṁ kartum vyavasitā vayam rājya-sukha-lobhena hantum sva-janam udyatāḥ. Aho,
Alas,
bata,
how strange it is,
mahat,
great,
pāpaṁ,
sins,
kartum,
to perform,
vyavasitā,
have decided,
vayam,
we,
yat,
because,
rājya-sukha-lobhena,
driven by greed for royal happiness,
hantum,
to kill,
sva-janam,
kinsmen,
udyatāḥ.
trying.
Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yeah, okay, you can't really say that. It's a translation.
Okay. All right. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
Yes.
Wow.
Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world. But Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. Okay, let's have a look at this is the 80, well, I thought it was the 83 edition. I'm not so sure now. Let's take a look at the 72 edition. The difference here is in the translation itself. In the original Macmillan edition, it says, "Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen." That's the addition. Before, "Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness." Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness has been changed into its own sentence. And then it's, "We are intent on killing our own kinsmen."
Yeah.
I mean, that says hantum sva-janam udyatāḥ. It's the last line. Rājya-sukha-lobhena. Because of the greed for royal happiness, hantum sva-janam udyatāḥ. We're intending to kill our own kinsmen. So it's in the Sanskrit, but in the original it wasn't rendered into the English. Now, I discovered well, anyway, before we do that, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksho Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Let's have a look at the text itself first, and then go back to comparing. Or should we do? What do you want to do first? Book changes or the actual Bhagavad Gita text?
Let's go into the book changes, and then we can go
to the Gita text.
Yeah.
Okay. So I found the BBT Edits website, and on there is this PDF, which is the original 72 Bhagavad Gita, and this is the Bhagavad Gita where Jayadvaita Swami made the changes that came into the next edition. But there has clearly been another edition beyond that one, because there are changes that are to be found in the current edition that are not in here.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in the case of this one here, there are actually some changes in the word for word.
Mm-hmm.
And Matsya Avatar Das, who lives in Brisbane, he's a I don't know if you call him a young devotee these days. He's younger than me. He was at Gopi Puranadana's Sanskrit school in Govardhan, but he's written the Sanskrit stuff. So, this has been changed. Let's have a look between these two. So, aho is here,
Mm-hmm.
and in here it says aha.
Mm.
It's not aha, it's actually aho. So that's correct. Been corrected.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, whoever did the word for word made a mistake. Srila Prabhupada had aho in the manuscript. He seems to have typed the O over an A.
Mm.
And aho is the correct word in the context. And then also vyavasitā, have decided. So it just said decided. It's been changed to have decided.
Mm.
And then we have rājya-sukha-lobhena. Rajya had kingdom, and then sukha-lobhena, driven by greed for royal happiness. But sukha means happiness, lobhena, greed,
Mm-hmm.
rajya, royal happiness.
Mm.
So that makes sense to put them together. Rajya, kingdom, changed to rājya-sukha-lobhena, driven by greed for royal happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, for is gratuitous. Hantum, udyatāḥ, trying to kill. So hantum, to kill. Sva-janam, put a dash in between. Sva-janam means one's own people,
Mm-hmm.
so kinsmen. Udyatāḥ, trying for, it just needs to be trying to.
Mm.
So sva-janam gets a dash in it, and udyatāḥ becomes trying instead of trying for.
Mm.
See, trying, and sva-janam. Now,
Right.
these kind of changes here are pretty, straight up. But then you notice that I'm not sure what that mark there means.
Like a no?
Yeah, maybe no change? I don't know.
Mm.
Oh, wow, cool. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad-gita Supanishadsu Brahma Vidya Yoga Shastri Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvadi Arjuna Vishad Yoga Nama Pratamo Dhyayaya.
Is that a special mantra?
It is, yeah, you recite this at the end.
Mm.
You know this, how Prabhupada has thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what this here is.
Mm.
Om Tat Sat, thus the Bhagavad-gita, Supanishad Su, Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre, Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. It's an Upanishad, Brahma Vidya, it's knowledge of Brahman. Yoga Shastra, it's a yoga scripture. Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, it means it's a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And then Arjuna Vishad Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despair, Nama Pratamo Dhyayaha. This chapter is called the yoga of Arjuna's despair.
It is well fitted. What
Yes.
it says, yeah.
But you can see here that although these changes, and this is great, the way that these are done like this. I mean, this apparently came out in 2006. It was lost until 2006 when they produced it. Lost,
Mhm.
somehow. But changes have been made since this was done, and they're not annotated to understand why they were done and what was changed exactly.
Mm.
There needs to be a critical edition to account for the changes, to demonstrate what they are, so you're not left having to do forensic analysis.
Right, right.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, just treated with more care than this. That's my personal take on that.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm developing a whole kind of opinion, theory about the book changes, and it turns out that many of the arguments that I made in my 2008 paper about
Annotations?
annotations apply exactly to the book changes. And once I went back, and because I wasn't around when book changes happened, right? I came after the book changes happened. But then they tried to do annotations while I was here, and I was like, no, and I made a whole argument against it. And now that I'm looking into book changes and I read my article, and it's like, it's an argument against book changes as well. Or at the very least, like a very, very strong statement about how such a thing should be done.
Yeah. We need to maintain the integrity of the book. That's what is the essence and character of it. And then in order for us to do that, we have to be basically in the body of Srila Prabhupada to understand exactly what he meant to be said.
And it's not only it's part of the integrity of the book is, I'm not sure how to language this, but it's like, it's kind of like, part of the integrity is knowing what the state of integrity is. Like, you could see the argument that will be made is, no, the integrity of Prabhupada's books has been preserved. Trust us. You know, and that's a very different thing than just simply, it is what it is. And then it's like, oh, we made, I don't know, whatever, 5,000 changes or whatever, but the integrity is still intact. Trust us. At that point, the book's integrity is in an unknown state, and so therefore it's like, it's out of integrity. It's gone out of integrity. Even if everything in there was fully justified and there had been no insertion of some other agenda or slanting or something like that, or the introduction of errors. It's one thing to say, oh, we're correcting it, but, you know, if you're making so many changes to it, did you introduce any new errors? I don't know, there was one yesterday that, this one here, screen, now it's become a book changes class rather than a Bhagavad-gita, but we'll go back to the verse in a minute and we'll look at it. But it was here. It was the verse yesterday, and in here, the grammar, awkwardly placed. Okay, so move that. Makes sense, because it says, there is a system in the Varnashram institution by which one has to undergo the process of ablution before death for his sinful activities. Now, it means to undergo the process of ablution for his sinful activities, by which one has to, before death, undergo the process of ablution for his sinful activities. Because with the before death in here, it could be read as before death for his sinful activities. Like he's going to be executed for his sinful activities, right? But it means the ablution. Do you know what ablution means?
Changes, clean up.
Ablution?
Yeah.
Yeah, it means like cleaning.
Yeah. Clean up, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear, right? Some kind of process of ablution.
Ablution before death.
Yeah, by which one has to undergo the process of ablution for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of ablution called the prayaschitta. Makes sense to me. Because I know what the word ablution means. It's like cleaning. The ablutions block, you know? The shower block. Okay, yeah, some kind of process of cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
But here it says, ablution is the wrong word.
Right.
Is it? Is it? I mean, really? Okay. Ablution is the wrong word.
They even say like a cleansing with water or other liquid, especially as a religious ritual.
This is not the meaning of prayaschitta. We know from Srila Prabhupada's lectures on the first chapter of the 6th canto that the word that he intended here is atonement. So it's been changed in the new edition to atonement.
You know what I don't like about it? It's like they're speaking for him. We know he intended to mean atonement. Really? How do you give yourself the permission to say such a thing?
Well, you can make an argument, and he has, and supported it on something. However, it's one thing to find errors in the transcription and things like that. It's another thing to reach into this other realm, which is, when I read it, that makes sense to me. It's perfectly clear. And the change to atonement, okay.
Atonement sounds like very Christian,
Yeah, I mean,
biblical.
I think the other thing for me about that is that I read this Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's in a conversation with someone. It's always struck me as just so powerful. He's saying something, and then the man he's talking to, he must be an Indian man, he says, what did Krishna mean when he said that is, and then Prabhupada just cuts him off, and he says, we don't care what he meant. We only care what he said. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's the problem with human beings. You know, we always find a meaning. We want meaning for everything. What he's trying to say, he means this, he means that. Like, really?
Yeah, I mean, what happens if later on you have some other realization, you know, and you go, oh, actually, it reminds me of that story, we told it, and Gora Prabhu put it in the comments. Remember about the man he read it and he went, oh, you know what, this is kartum, not vajam. Krishna doesn't do it himself. He causes it to get done by his people. Remember that story?
Yeah.
And then Krishna and Balaram come and they have the stripes across their back. And they say, oh, our master has been whipping us. And it was because the guy had been scratching out the word and changing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this just reminds me of the same thing. And what this does is now I'm just left with, really, I'm going to have to check everything now, am I? Like, what else got changed like this? And what's the overall effect of that? It impacts the integrity of the book, because it's a theory of the justification of the editing is errors were made by transcribers, you know, inexperienced, etc. The words that we have in here are not, it's not Prabhupada's direct voice. Like if you read Prabhupada's conversations and lectures, you see, and if you listen to him, you hear his English. English is a second language, Bengali, you know, Indian English. But his books, of course, are edited to be standard English. And so editors did take those manuscripts and then turn them into something. And they had to make intelligent decisions at the time. And, of course, as one of the editors, Jayadvaita Swami has said, well, you know, I'm just going to, like, now that there are no new books coming out because Prabhupada is gone, and we just like did this on a marathon sprint to get it all out, I'm going to go back and do it again and fix it, you know? And, you know, to give him, you know, the absolute benefit of the doubt, it's just like, yeah, I'm just doing what I did then. Like, I just took the material that came in and we edited it and we made it great and then put it out. But we did it under a really tight deadline, and I could have done a better job if I'd had more time. And now I've got the time, I'm going to go back and do it. And so he went back and did that. And it's like, nobody asked me about the editorial changes in the first edition, the first one that we did. And so now I'm just going back and doing the same thing again over the top of it. And so I can understand how, with your own familiarity and your own relationship with that service and doing it, how you could think that way. But the impact, especially as the, you know, people's faith in the leaders and the institution gets impacted, this becomes an issue. And so, I mean, someone said about these changes, said they say that, oh, we want to annotate Prabhupada's books and edit them to make them more, you know, in line and acceptable to academics and the universities and that. Someone made the argument, they said, serious scholars don't even accept the edited versions because the editing was not done to a sufficient standard of integrity where you could track all the changes and understand them. Like, there needs to be a critical edition of this, showing all the posthumous edits, all of them, with the justification for every single one. Otherwise, you are going to have people going back to the original books. Even people using these latest books. I don't know. I'm going to keep going through and doing this just for my own personal.
I think it's our
thing.
responsibility to do that, you know, because now they're giving the permission to do whatever they want. And then are we allowing that for that to continue happening, or are we going to stick to the previous one and compare as it, because this is part of our responsibility as an adult.
Yeah.
What we're reading is actually concisely what Srila Prabhupada meant to say, or what he said, to what other people are saying. No, I'm giving my permission to say, I think he intended to say, Srila Prabhupada intended to say this. Like, how can you give yourself the power to say such a thing? It's like you say something and I say, no, he intended to do this. How can I speak about you? Why should I speak for you? It doesn't make sense to me. It is just kind of like you ignore the person, Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, okay, so
anyways.
No, I can argue against that.
Argue it? Go ahead.
Yeah, because you're asking the question, right?
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Like I was saying before, Jayadvaita Swami, he's like, that's what I was doing before. I edited, Prabhupada sent me the thing and I edited it. And now I'm catching some of my own errors and I'm seeing things that I would have done, back then. The problem with that is that now it's about the example that you're setting. Because what's the example that you're setting that, editors can just change things in the books? It's like, it's kind of, I guess one way of putting it is to say that it is, it's, I don't know what Jayadvaita Swami's relationship with Prabhupada and with the books is. I don't. I made some statements based on like a speculation, about like, okay, he did this and he thinks about it like this, but I'm speculating there and I'm clear that I'm speculating. But he's I'll just say it straight up. He's messing with the books in a way where it's like, I don't know if you have some like special confidential relationship with Prabhupada and everything. Listen, I don't even know who you are. Like, you have a personal relationship with Prabhupada. I don't have a personal relationship with you. So, I mean, and like, he could be like, oh, well, and people be like, but I know him. And it's like, but I don't. And a lot of people who are coming don't know him. He needs to, and he needed to, act in such a way that it was exemplary for history. And be like, and treat the thing with the reverence and gravity that's required of it. Because you might have some special, confidential, personal relationship with Prabhupada, and no doubt you do, whatever it is, maybe yes, no, I don't know, but this needed to be done with gravity and in an exemplary fashion, because you're literally messing with like the fundamental basis of people's relationship with Prabhupada now, through his writing and through his books. And then what's the example that you set for the future? Like, what are people going to emulate about that? That someone can just like change the books arbitrarily in the future? Is that a thing? No, that's not a thing. So why did you do that? If it's not reproducible, it should have been done in an exemplary way. And then there's multiple tranches of these changes, and what we're left with is like, why should we trust it? Why should we trust it? And why should you demand that we trust that? That's like a real kind of step too far,
That's a red flag, actually. What I wanted to say before was that while Srila Prabhupada was there, he was alive, and I was giving you a service to do some editing here and there, and you, as the servant of Srila Prabhupada, you go back and you double check, is this what you really mean, Srila Prabhupada? And he's giving the yes or no thing. That was his job. while he's alive. But after he departed, he continued doing that. Who is going to check that? The authenticity of the book, the integrity of whatever changes is happening? No one. And he is giving himself the power to do so because, hey, because I did that in the past, I can do that now. Who gave you the power to do so? And how come you gave the power to do that?
This was what I said in the annotations paper that I wrote. I was like, the fact that they went about doing it in this way without any realization or acknowledgement of the impact that this would have on other people is a demonstration that they don't know what they're doing. To just go and do this, it's like, does this mean that someone else can do it or only you?
Well, for sure, because he's giving himself the power to do so. Just because he was the editor for Srila Prabhupada for some time, well, we can do that too, right? That is the example that I'm getting it. If you can change it, I will change it too, according to what I feel it is the correct way to say, because he may have this mental idea that, oh, we don't want to offend people, or we want to say the way we want to say.
Well, that agenda is not necessarily in this, but even...
No, it's not. Mm-hmm. But you, when things like this happens, you already take into a different platform where you're already criticizing, like, okay, what does it mean? Does that mean I can do whatever I want with these books? Does that mean I can give myself the power to do so and the permission to do so? If he's doing that and nobody's checking on him, then I guess anyone else that think is very advanced can do it.
Ian Daniels up in the chat. Hey, g'day Ian. He's saying different lived experience impacting his memory of what was originally said or the intention of what was said. And also, someone else will do it. Look at the 2,000 plus years of editing the Christian Bible.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like setting a precedent. And so the precedent, okay, like there's different levels. Like, one, don't do it. Second, if you do it, you do it in a extremely rigorous scientific manner.
And it has to be everything documented.
100%.
So we can go back to that, okay, we studied the way this guy was thinking, and then the reason why he's changing the wording, or just the how the sentences are formed.
Yeah, like for today's one, these errors in the Sanskrit, right?
That's understandable.
And then even this here has been expanded, and it's not noticed. So this was another edit which hasn't been documented. But this one here this concerns me. It's the wrong word. What he intended is something else. It's like...
the question, what is the background of this guy?
Who, Jay Adwaita?
Yeah. Is he what did he study in his life? What did he do?
I'm not sure.
Exactly. So we don't even have the background of this guy to go read and say, okay.
No, I don't know, but that doesn't mean that it is unknown. It is known.
For some people, and if you guys know anything about a biography of this person, who it is, please let us know, because he's not that big for us, It's some devotees. For myself, I will speak for myself.
Yeah, well, no, there's no, without a doubt, he's done, a great service and a huge amount of service, but not enough to do this and to do it in this way. It's like, it required a different way of handling it in order to not impact people's faith in the integrity of the books.
Yeah.
And that wasn't attended to, and that is a disqualification for doing it.
Yeah.
In other words, the fact that he is reduced, or he's taken the books out of integrity, so that people are now left with I do not know if this book is in integrity, is a demonstration that he doesn't have the qualification to do what he's done. Yeah, that is my conclusion. I'll develop it further, but let's go back to the verse.
As we go, we will go, and for sure we're going to have more devotees discussing about this.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the source of the change to this verse here. How strange it is that we're preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
I think the other version is a bit easy to read.
Well, the other version is exactly the same up to this point here.
Yeah.
Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. Yeah. But we are intent, driven by the desire for royal happiness.
What is the intent? Try
it. This hantum sva-janam udyatāḥ. We're trying to kill our kinsmen. Yeah, driven by the greed for the... So, Arjuna's...
Trying is one thing, intent is another thing, isn't it?
Let's have a look. It's the only time it appears.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, those two things are different, actually. But, yeah. Okay, it's not something that Prabhupada had put in there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm trying to make a booking for a romantic dinner for us. Oh, I can say, I'm intending to make a booking for a romantic dinner for us. Which one has more power?
Trying, intent on killing our own kinsmen. I don't think, in this case here, I don't think that this significantly changes the, it's not a significant change.
But anyways,
even the change from a tone, where now we're going to be hooked on the book changes for this whole verse, and that's okay. Well, I gave another commentary on this verse this morning with Muchukunda in the Pāpaṁ podcast. But the change from ablution to atonement, again, it's not, materially it's justified, but it's the intention that underlies it, and it's the theory, it's the editing theory behind it that's the issue. It's the editing theory, including the lack of accountability and attention tending to the integrity of the... There's no tending to the integrity of the text, so that we know that the integrity has been attended to and we can inspect it and see that it's an integrity. There's none of that. And then the other thing that's missing is the integrity of the process itself. So the process... the way this has been done now is like you have to go through and examine each of the changes to understand what the theory of the editor is. But the editor's theory is that you're an idiot and I know what I'm doing and I don't even care if you trust me or not. I just you don't even factor into my universe. Like the way that this has been done, and I took it personally. And the fact that that wasn't factored into it, that people will come in the future and look at this and they're going to take this personally, and we need to deal with that, to me, is a disqualification to do it. And then even I could go through now and I could find every change, track it, and see the validation of it and the integrity, and then I could establish for my own satisfaction that the book is in integrity after having tracked all the changes through and done everything, but the editorial process itself lacks integrity. And then what I'm left with is this going to happen again? Like, how is the lack of integrity in this process not being addressed?
And that is the problem, the unfortunate thing for some devotees that they don't work with integrity and they don't see the effect, the great effect of the lack of integrity that they're doing to the book and also to the whole Krishna conscious movement. We cannot act with our integrity, Who's going to take you seriously?
Yeah, I mean, now you have devotees printing and only reading the other books, because they're not going to put the energy into analyzing both editions.
Yeah.
But that's still a problem for me now, because I'm like, we're going to go through this. We're going to analyze both editions. We're going to analyze the changes. We're going to find out what changes have been accounted for. And we're going to, at the end of it, end up with an understanding of the integrity of this edition of the Bhagavad-gita against the 72 and the integrity of the changes that have been made and the motivation, the different standards of and motivations for the different changes that have been made. And then we're still, at the end of it, left with an editorial process that lacks integrity.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what am I supposed to do about that? And what what many devotees who have considered this have done have said, the only way to ensure the integrity of this editorial process is to reject it because it lacks integrity.
For sure. That's the only thing, there is no other way. Lacks integrity, I don't trust, don't know why, the reason why you've done that. Why should I carry on
It's
with
not
this?
even that you don't trust it. It simply lacks integrity. So to trust something that lacks integrity, because
you can't trust anymore.
No, you can trust that it will go wrong. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed.
In a positive way. I cannot trust them to be...
Yeah. I mean, see, that these changes were made and they were annotated and explained, but then further changes were made after this, which means this is an editorial process with no seal on it. It has no end, which means that, and since there's no process for the process of the edits, like when we do the edits, we do exactly like this. We release a critical edition, etc., etc. They go through some kind of process to, validate them. It just seems like they just have that. No, it doesn't seem like there is somehow some unlimited license to continue mutating the books.
As they wish.
Yeah, and so, like Ian's saying, look at the 2,000 plus years of editing the Christian Bible. If it's been edited like this, so much since then, when does that stop? Exactly.
Never.
And so some devotees are just like, it stops here. With the 72 edition, no further. We don't even reject the changes because we haven't analyzed them. We reject the process itself, which means automatically we reject all of the changes, no matter what substance they have. Whereas we're, at this point, analyzing to see, but the integrity of the process is an issue.
Okay. We have something to cover.
Okay. I can't even get my head into it now. I'm so hooked on the book changes,
I know.
Okay, so let me get my head back into this conversation here with Arjuna. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. He's on the battlefield, and he's just like, this is astonishing to me. How did we end up here? That we're getting ready to kill our own family. And we're doing it for what? To win the kingdom? And so what's happening here is that he's finding his material motivations to be insufficient to carry him through. Because let's just be straight. He's saying this because he does want to enjoy royal happiness. He's like, you know what? I'm sick of living in the woods. We need to be living in the palace where we belong. He does. He does. He has that desire. But it's insufficient to carry him through. But you know that nobody criticizes Arjuna for having this here, like a material desire that's aligned with Dharma. But then at the point when the material desire is insufficient to carry him through his duty, he has to discover another higher motivation than that. And then to give the contemporary example, it's like going to chant at Parliament, during the protests, the Parliament occupation. And then some devotees, they criticize, they're like, oh, you were only there because you agree with the protesters. Okay, well, first of all, that has nothing to do with anything, really. But then the thing is, it's like saying that, oh well, Arjuna was only fighting on the battlefield because he wanted to enjoy royal happiness. He admits at the beginning that he has some motivation that's motivating him in that direction, but that's also what he must do as his duty. Just as chanting in that large group of people, thousands of people, it's just a duty.
It is our duty.
Whether you agree with them or not, you have to chant.
Yeah.
And if you agree with them, that's not a disqualification any more than Arjuna's desire to enjoy royal happiness of the kingdom, which rightfully belongs to him, is a disqualification of him being on the battlefield. So devotees being there and protesting against the government with its like coercive mandates for an experimental injection, and then banning devotees from doing kirtan, and then the temple's like, it's not us, it's the government. So okay, well, we'll protest the government then. And so you go there and you do a protest and you chant Hare Krishna. Or you go there and, you know, chant Hare Krishna because there's lots of people there, and it's like, well, we're not just going to let them be lots of people and not chant, and we can. There's so many different kind of levels to it.
Yeah.
And none of them are a disqualification. None of them. None of those kind of arguments that have been brought against that have any validity.
Mm.
In this instance here, there are like moral injunctions, as Prabhupada points out, against the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. And so Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, he's conscious of moral principles, and he therefore takes care to avoid such activities. So Krishna has set the situation up here, the scenario, so that Arjuna has his material desires of, you know, he desires to enjoy the royal happiness of the kingdom. And at the same time, there's like the Dharma, which is they are the rightful heirs. So they should be ruling, and this guy trying to dispossess them like that, it's not simply just personal slight against them. Of course it is, but it's also adharmic. And so it's like, even if you don't want to do anything about it, you have a duty to do something about it. And those two things are together, his desire to enjoy royal happiness and the Dharma. They're both together. You know, whether you agree, so you agree with the protesters and it's your duty to go there and chant, and the two are together. And then you get there and you start chanting and you discover that you don't agree with them on everything, because nobody ever does, right? And then you find out that it really sucks and that it's like materially very austere and you don't want to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And then they're denouncing you and everything, and so those things diverge. But now it's like, what are you going to do? And in this situation, Krishna set it up so that the desire to enjoy royal happiness is now conflicting with, you're going to have to kill your family. He doesn't want to do that. And there's also like a sense in which you can create a justifiable case based on dharma about not fighting because of the negative impacts. Of course, Krishna dismisses the consequentialist way of thinking and says, it's your duty to fight, so you have to do it. So he's created this thing to put those two things in opposition with each other. The desire to enjoy royal happiness and his desire to not kill his family. Those two things are conflicting. And then in the middle is dharma, what must be done, which aligns with his desires, but it clashes with his desire to not kill his family. And so that is the crux of the dilemma that Arjuna finds himself in at this point. Anything to add?
You know, we can apply this one as well about the book changes.
Okay, do it, do it, do it.
It's like how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. You know, they are prepared to commit a lot of offenses to Srila Prabhupada. For what? For the sake to enjoy, I am the book editor, I am so clever and this and that, you know, I want fame for what I done. There is a lot of sense of enjoyment in what they're doing. Imagine doing something that you don't enjoy. It doesn't give you any sense of enjoyment, right?
Well, I mean, you could if you were like a CIA infiltration or a reptilian agent and you didn't like doing it, but it was your job.
You get paid for it at least. But
I mean, see, this is the difficult one, is about speculating about the internal motives of people. Yeah, like that's the thing about it when people like personally go after Jayadvaita Swami and who does he think he is, etc., etc. It's, to me, it's kind of like irrelevant. He could be a machine, a robot, you know, like in a assembly line or a factory. But the way that the robot is operating is dangerous because, you know, there's no limit to those changes that can be made, and it's unknown what the changes were. And look, let's be straight. It's like maybe he is a CIA infiltrator.
maybe
You just never know. And it's like if you weren't, you'd be like, I'm going to do this in a way that CIA infiltrators, you know, to just throw something out there, reptilian shapeshifter infiltrators can't touch Prabhupada's books. Like, part of my job, my duty for the future is to make this thing infiltrator proof. But these edits have been done in such a way that they're not infiltrator proof. And it's kind of like, are you incompetent or are you actually an infiltrator? Because it's one of those two.
Yeah. It has to be run by some motive. There isn't any, you know, I had no motive except for doing, even if you say that, why are you doing it anyways? Yeah, it could be a rakshasa in the body of a human.
And then people will say about that, like, oh, you know, how could you say such a thing? This is not even a theory that that's what he is. This is a theory that you have to act as if the person who's coming in the future is. It was like when the government in this country brings in these laws that allows the police to just go into your house with no warrant and take you out and inject you with something or put you in a camp. And I was like, even if you were a well-intentioned government, you must know that once you create that law, it's available to the evil government that comes in the future. And if you're here pretending that you don't understand that danger, that means you are the evil government. And it's the same kind of thing here. It's like, yeah.
Well, we have to use our critical thinking, right? We have the level of intelligence to critique, discern all of this. Question, why is he changing? What is the motive behind it? We have to. Imagine just reading a book without, like, having any critical thinking. Does it really make us a human beings? Like they said, intelligent. We have the level of intelligence we can discern and critically analyze situations or things.
Yeah, 100%. Having looked into this now, it's vulnerable to the same arguments I made against the annotations, and it's an instance of that. And I don't, you know, I know a lot or some of the devotees involved in the book publishing, and I spent 3 years running the BBT in Peru. Then, you know, they're not necessarily ill-intentioned, but the way that it's been done has not been done in a future-proof way, which makes it vulnerable to the criticism, the kind of criticism that, you know, we've been leveling against it, and which devotees have leveled against it. I mean, at the same time, this was my position on the 83 Gita, which is not actually the 83 Gita. I'm not sure what year it even is now. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell, like how many books has been printed and what years and all of that. Like, it's hard to keep up.
Let me check my paper copy from.
Ian was saying law of
unintended consequences. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, but it's like inevitable unintended consequences is what we're looking at here. with this. So we're at 143?
144.
Okay, 144.
One more.
Atonement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so mine looks like, yeah, there's no further changes. It looks like the...
What year is that?
This one was printed in complete edition, revised and enlarged. It says first printing 1989. So this one's copyright 1989. Third printing 1995. So this copy was printed in 1995, but it has a copyright of 1989. So there was an 83 edit of the Gita, and there was an 89. So this was the 89 edit.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it's like, it's just unknown what year this one is that we're looking at on the database. It's like, you can't tell. So, you know, imagine how much energy it takes for you to now verify the integrity of the book.
Yeah.
You've got to actually go and do the forensic analysis. It was like done in such a way that it makes the integrity impossible to ascertain the integrity of the book, which is like such a dangerous situation. Like, who's attending to that now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irresponsible, very irresponsible.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's irresponsible.
Very irresponsible.
Irresponsible way to deal with it.
They just opened the doors for many more offenses to be committed, many more changes to happen. Because I don't know how old is this gentleman, but I'm sure he's about to step into the nether world or other worlds, whatever world. And somebody else with that pretentious attitude will come and say, oh no, actually, Srila Prabhupada didn't intend to do that, so I'll put my own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, offences. I don't know. I tend to steer clear of that because people go, no, you're being offensive towards him. I'm like, this has nothing to do with offences. It's just like its integrity, its due process. It's like, you know. I wouldn't say that it opens the door for many more offences to be committed. It opens the door for more changes to take place and just definitely undetectable infiltration. And it's kind of like, you could operate with a naive theory of the world where undetected infiltration is not a threat. You know, like you have a Pollyanna kind of approach to it. Or you could be deliberately creating that.
Use computers to compare text and display
changes. Yeah.
Is there any specific program to use that?
Someone has done that, because when I was looking for this website here, I found another website that actually does that, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. It was very difficult to read. This was the easiest one. But because we have the this one here and we have this one here, I should be able to write something that can do it. See, there's the link to this page here. So I might have a crack at that. Yeah, I'll have a crack at doing something that'll do it automatically. Okay, let's go back to the verse. Aho bata mahat pāpaṁ kartum vyavasitā vayam yad rājya-sukha-lobhena hantum sva-janam udyatāḥ. Interestingly, the way this is constructed in Sanskrit is it's constructed to make it resistant to mutation, because the text is written in a specific meter, in a specific rhyme. It is possible to substitute things into it, which is why that devotee was like, that's not vajamyaham, it's karumyaham, because you have to make sure it still rhymes and it still has the same number of syllables, but you can substitute some things in there, but it's designed to make it easy to remember and difficult to get wrong or to change. Yeah. Translation: Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai.